Is XDefiant clunky, or is it your settings? Over the past week that the game has been out, there's been a lot of mixed reviews of people saying they absolutely love the game, a lot of people saying they hate the game, and a whole bunch in between. But I think it can come down majorly to your settings. This game is very, very heavily dependent on your settings, your sensitivities, and we're going to give you a rundown of places where you can start with your settings, one setting that you must change in order to help your gameplay, and a good starting ground to fixing your clunky gameplay. We're here in the firing range just to show off some of these settings. The very first one I want you guys to change is the ADS field of view. There's two different options here, independent and consistent. So I'm going to aim on the same exact bots here. As you can see, on the left is independent and on the right is consistent. And as you can see, there's a huge difference between independent and consistent. I would highly recommend you go for consistent, because when you don't, independent has this real jarring effect. So if you're running and sliding, hurry up and aiming in, it's like pulling you toward the middle of the screen. It's just this weird like jarring effect that zooms way in on your target, where you just don't have that when you're on consistent, and your gameplay feels a lot smoother. Setting number 2 here is field of view. I left it on 105. You can change this as much as you want, but at the moment 105 is a great starting point. There is an auto sprint feature, but in this game the maps are pretty small, so I don't really think it's necessary. This one's a personal preference, sprint interrupting reload. This one is entirely up to you. I personally don't want it to interrupt my reload. That way, if I need to get out of a situation, I can still sprint away while reloading, hide behind a corner, and come back out and get the kill. This is a big one here. This may be set by default, but just double check it. Slide behavior, you want to make sure it's on tap. Another one here, adjusting the HUD limits. I tested this out on 2 different monitors and it was messed up on both of them, so make sure you're checking it out. And make sure those limits are set the whole way up to 100. This just gives you a better and cleaner point of view while playing the game. 2 here, damage numbers and enemy health bars. You want both of these on. That way you're getting the most stats you can possibly get while playing the game. Here we are in the controller tab. I left my button and stick layout on default. However, if you're somebody who plays tactical in Call of Duty, you're going to want to switch your button layout to brawler. This allows you to crouch with the right stick and melee with circle. Aim assist, you want to leave this on standard. Aim assist, strength, and follow, leave those both on 0. Here we are at the aim response curve type. Highly recommend switching this over to reverse S curve, as it'll make your shots feel a little bit smoother, a little bit crispier, and stick to the enemy just a little bit better. Also, we're talking about aim assist here. You want to make sure as you're playing the game and you're coming up to an enemy, so if I'm coming up to this enemy right here in the 3rd spot, you want to make sure you're strafing left and right as you're shooting the enemy. You don't want to be running toward the person or pushing backwards, as that'll disrupt your shots. Instead, what you want to be doing is strafing left to right as you're shooting. That'll just help your aim assist stick a little bit better to your target. And I found it since the ACR, if we check here, the little rabbits, if we check here, if I don't touch anything but the trigger, it's going to go up and to the right. So to counteract that, if I strafe to the left, it'll help me stay on target even better. Now, I know this is on the lower end of things, but both my horizontal and vertical sensitivities are on 34 right now. I think the sweet spot is between 34 and 44, so find out what works best for you. I may be upping it here in a little bit, but as of right now, 34. I also highly recommend keeping these the exact same number. So that way there's some sort of consistency. When you're moving the analog stick around, up, down, left, or right, it's always consistent. Now to help out with those longer range shots, especially if you're playing on that consistent ADS field of view, you want to take your controller aim look sensitivity down to around 0.9. Now, you may have to reduce this even further if you're playing on like 44 to 50 sensitivity, but 0.9 seems to work great for me. A lot of people talk about dead zones here in the settings. This is going to be controller dependent. So based on your controller, how low can you make the dead zones before your guy automatically starts walking, or before your character starts drifting off their aim? So your dead zones help counteract stick drift, so it's all controller dependent. This one here is a questionable one, acceleration speed multiplier. I personally don't like this. I want everything to be consistent every single time I aim the gun. An acceleration speed multiplier is going to make it a little bit different, but you're going to have to try it out for yourself, see if you like it. Personally, I don't think I'm going to touch it. And as always, in every single FPS game that you're playing, you want to make sure you're turning controller vibration off. And lastly, from the developers themselves, you're going to want to go into the video tab, and if you have a monitor or TV that allows for 120 Hz refresh rate, make sure you're turning it on. This will just help out with the smoothness of the gameplay even more. So like I said, these are my settings. They may not work exactly right for you, but this is a great starting point for you to find the settings that work for you, and the game doesn't feel as clunky. So hop into the practice zone, try out these settings. If you need to adjust them a bit, go ahead and make them fit your play style. But so far, I've been absolutely loving XDefiant. It's been a ton of fun, and hopefully this video helps you guys out as well. If it did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and put off notifications. I'll catch you guys right back here in the next one. Peace out.